Hello, here we are in the Kimberley region in Western Australia. This is the Fitzroy River behind me. The Fitzroy River catchment is about 95,000 square kilometres, a huge river catchment. We're about halfway down the catchment. This week we're here in the Kimberley because we're doing a property management plan with Mount Pierre Station. Mount Pierre Station is an Aboriginal station located in the upper reaches of the catchment. It's a typical size station. It's just a little bit over 200,000 hectares, or in old language that's about 500,000 acres, and it has the potential to run between 5,000 and 8,000 cattle, so it's a multi-million-dollar business. Future IQ Partners has been contracted by Mount Pierre Cattle Station with a grant from the Indigenous Land Corporation of Australia to do a long-term property management plan. So we are working with the members of the corporation and the station management to look at what their aspirations are for the future and what type of steps they want to take in the next round of evolution of their cattle station.
Mount Pierre was acquired in 1989 with the support of the Aboriginal Development Commission, and it was acquired during a period when there was a restructure of the Kimberley pastoral industry by the state government, and it was acquired at the same time as Loysa Downs and Bohemia Downs Station. So the government funded a 5-year development plan for Mount Pierre because when it was acquired it was basically unfenced, there were no waters and no cattle. So over the next 5 years there was an intensive development program and training program which brought the station up to a good level of development in terms of infrastructure, plant and equipment, and a high-grade Brahman herd of just under 5,000 head at that time. The carrying capacity of this country is generally fairly low. You're talking about, on average, around about 4 animals per square kilometre, 3 to 4 animals per square kilometre. So you can imagine paddocks are very large and animals roam over a large area. So when you have to get them in each year for branding and culling and everything, it's a large exercise, expensive exercise. And these days helicopters are used extensively, along with stockmen on horseback to hold the cattle together, but the actual work of bringing the cattle together as a group is done with helicopters. The reputation of Indigenous stockmen is second to none, and they were the backbone of the Kimberley pastoral industry originally. None of this country would have been opened up and developed into cattle stations if it hadn't been for the skills and of Indigenous stockmen.
We're looking forward, and if it don't happen, we're gonna get caught up again. Where we got to now, and we need a good look at keep going ahead, and like getting young people commitment on the property to do the job.
It's important so we can still, it's very important so we can be able to go back and do our cultural activities back on country and stuff. And we don't want to lose this station in any way. And we'll keep doing what we're doing now to hold it and lock it for the people. You know?
It took a bit hard work to get it back, sweat and tears, yep. So, yeah, I feel proud of the station where it is today. Yeah, there was a rocky road a bit, but somebody had to do it, and it had to be us to bring it back to where it is.
Well, the land is important to us as well, well as running the business, and we're looking at for the future of holding the land. Like you look at some other stations for non-Indigenous parcels, and we would follow the same track to keep it going, and from generation to generation, we're talking generation to generation going ahead, and for young people to continue.
It means a lot to me. Being as a traditional owner for that country, to have the land back, all that is ours. And it means a lot to me because I was a little girl. I was going right up to Mud Spring, all the way around there, river. And not only that, my grandparents, we used to walk that country all the way and back.
and camping outs, and they taught me how to hunt and everything, because hunting in those areas was very good and healthy for us to bush tucker. Yeah, fishing, goanna, snakes, or whatever that we were hunting for.
It's very important. You know, we can at least say for what we want to do with that land. You know, like
It's always been ours, but it's just been, it has to be in paper under all the process and everything, and yeah, so it's very important, not just for us and for our old people, but for our future generation and our kids to be able to pass that knowledge, transfer that knowledge on to their kids and their kids to come.
Emotionally and like not with pride, but you know, it's good to be recognized. So your recognition, you know, has been given back to you.
Look, it's critically important, and the acquisition program to get the stations for Indigenous communities was always multifaceted. It was never just about buying a business. It was about buying back traditional country. There are traditional lands that most people had been moved off with white settlement. So it was a great opportunity to reconnect with culture, language, and the land. And in some ways, in some instances, the business was secondary to that main thing of getting country back. You know, you've got the communities established on the stations, and schools and stores, as well as just the cattle side.
What we're going through from day one, we could see it as an outlet, and I know the country from the back of my hand. Going back when Mampi was part of Gogo, I've worked that country, and we look back to the youngsters. They're going to combat that maybe later on. So that's why we're saying, be strong, don't back off.
I reckon, you know, you put the right people in the right places, you know, the Aboriginal station will boom. You know.
The biggest challenge is dealing with families to be able to run the station and do things on the land properly. And little things like, you know, family not coming together to share ideas and stuff like that, you know. Those are the challenges we're going to face in life. And
Motivation and commitment that hasn't been around our young people in the last 5 to 10 years. That I see that if I go back, in the last 10 years, I've seen no motivation in the communities through CDP work, and then we couldn't get people moving in our communities. And if we've got something like the station set up that the community can't cater for, we could have the station creating employment and opportunities out there for our young ones.
If we look at the future plan for youngsters, and looking at me as well, you know, I'm not getting any younger, and maybe training up a young manager for the future, and that way there's job created all the time for young people, and also maybe, I know they got very interesting thing on horses, and maybe looking at bringing the horses back to handle cattle. The more you work cattle on horse, and the quieter the cattle get, and maybe training as well. Big training, we're looking at maybe getting TAFE or someone to come in so people can do training on welding, safety gear, maybe machinery, and whatever. We're looking at is things like we talked about yesterday, looking at Gogo, how Gogo operate for fodders and things like that. So we look at Gogo country where Gogo got their fodder, and you look at near Mount Pierre spring paddock, they're a country look same and beautiful country where you're aiming at.
Well, 2020, you know, I wanna see the station. I want it to be where we get the best cattle in the Kimberley, and I'm not relying on other big companies to keep feeding us. And we want to be self-sufficient, and that's what business is all about. Is being self-sufficient.
very excited to be able to see something actually coming together now from this long period of time of getting the station back and stuff, and to be able to come together as one group and put something, management plan together to be able to run the station in the future for our future generation.
What I could picture in my mind, I'd love to see more green pasture throughout the station in the areas where there's nice green, soil there, and opportunities and employment for young people, and to pass on that knowledge from our elders that are now working there, that have got the skills to, just to create opportunities and employment. That's my main vision I'd like to see happening.
We're going to make a lot of money in the future. A lot of our young people will benefit from it, and there could be other little businesses set up beside the cattle industry. You know, who knows, they could build something here or somewhere around there to make money as well, instead of relying so much on the station's money.
And I've got really important friendships that have lasted forever and will last forever. And yeah, this is part of me as well, so it gives me great joy and enormous pleasure when things start really moving forward. The cattle stations are really important because it's the land base. It's what's underpinning everything else that happens. So the land is held as a pastoral lease, so there's actually a legal requirement to run cattle and graze cattle on the land. So there's a statutory responsibility to do that, but then it provides the basis on which a whole lot of other enterprises, tourism, art, and community activities can be undertaken without interference. The cattle stations are a key part in the long-term sustainability of these enterprises.